Robot floor cleaners gotta have a gimmick these days, and this one has 3. It can pop a wheelie, stash its own tools when it doesn't need them, and it has built-in air freshening. But when it sounds like this, and this, is there such a thing as a robot vacuum that's too noisy? I'm Erin from Tech Gadgets International, and if you're shopping for a robot vacuum or floor cleaning bot, I kind of feel a bit sorry for you. With so many choices out there, it's really hard to know where to start, let alone which one to pick. Shark has added its new robot to the fray with the new Shark PowerDetect NeverTouch PRO robot vacuum and mop. Like most new floor cleaning bots these days, you gotta have a couple features that make you stand out from the crowd, and on that, Shark doesn't disappoint. In this review, I'll take a look at what makes this robot floor cleaner different from the rest, what it can do, and exactly how it cleans. I'll also show you whether things like this and this are things to worry about or not. I'll run it through my full battery of cleaning tests, and then I'll wrap this video up with the pros and the cons of this device so you can decide if it's going to be right for you. I would like to thank Shark for gifting me this robot. While the company did send one to me, it didn't ask for or receive permission to have any input whatsoever into this review, so you can consider these thoughts my own. Let's unbox this robot so you can see what you get. The charging and self-cleaning station is the biggest item in the box. Right on top, though, you'll see this special reusable cloth mopping pad. Next up is a box holding the robot itself. There's also 2 small corner brushes packaged in red plastic in here that you want to make sure don't get lost or accidentally discarded. These simply click into place on the robot, just one to begin. The second one is an extra. You'll also find an odour neutralizing cartridge in here, which is going to be installed in the base station shortly. The robot comes with another mopping pad already installed. There's a sample size bottle of Shark cleaning solution, which is a nice extra. Lastly, you want to remove and unwrap that base station. A plastic floor protecting plate that doubles as a bit of a ramp is also packaged in here. Flipping over the bot to get a closer look, you'll see that the mopping plate with cloth is there and the small single roller beater brush underneath. Getting a look at everything all laid out, the only thing you really can't see are the water tanks, which are hidden under the lid of the base station. This robot floor cleaner has a pretty utilitarian look. While some brands are opting to try and get their substantially sized floor cleaners to blend into homes a little better, there's no hiding what the Shark PowerDetect is all about. Before you can start using the PowerDetect, it needs to get a bit of a charge, and you'll need to connect it to the Shark Clean app. Situate the base station near a plug and then dock the robot inside. You can also twist in the special odor neutralizing cartridge now and fill the clean water tank with clean water and a couple ounces of cleaning solution. Once it powers up, you can open up the Shark Clean app and follow the instructions to get it connected to your home's Wi-Fi network. I was set up and ready to go in about 5 minutes. The next order of business is going to be to get the bot to map your home. The app is going to prompt you to do this, and the robot will roam around your house at a low speed until it generates a full map of the space. Mapping my home, about 1,000 square feet on the upper level, took about 10 minutes, but it did create a very accurate map too. The robot will go out a second time to do what it calls carpet detection, and then it will draw out all of the carpeted areas in the house, and for me, it got them bang on. The map is going to come in handy when you want to tackle things like room-specific cleanings, have it clean certain rooms on certain days or certain zones in rooms, or if you want automatic cleaning schedules for each day or each week. One thing I should point out fairly early in the game here is that when you open up the app to request a clean, you need to choose whether the robot is going to vacuum or whether it's going to mop. It's not going to do both at the same time, at least not effectively. It seems like it might use a tiny bit of suction while mopping, but I wouldn't expect it to clean thoroughly. If it vacuums, it's going to leave its mopping plate in the base station, and if you ask for it to mop, it's going to put it on. This actually brings me to one of the key special features of this bot, and that's called pad drop. One of the chores associated with some robot floor cleaners is that you might have to swap out a vacuuming plate for a mopping plate. This can be tedious and kind of grungy. Shark solves the problem by having the robot manage the mopping plate for you. In essence, if it's programmed to mop, it's going to back into the base station and lock its mopping plate into place. If it's only going on a vacuum run, it's going to leave the plate behind. The technology is kind of ingenious, and I've never seen this in action before, but I can definitely say it works, and I like the idea of letting the robot figure out what it needs to do on its own. Shark is also one of the only brands I can think of that uses an odor neutralizing cartridge in its filtration system. This is a unique concept since it pulls air through the system to help evacuate the robot's dustbin, and filters keep the dust from re-entering your home. Then, as it's exhausted back into your room, the odor neutralizer freshens it so that it doesn't smell stale or musty.
It's extremely subtle, but it is a nice touch, and it does add a bit of freshness each time the vacuum empties itself.
Shark PowerDetect NeverTouch PRO Robot Vacuum and Mop has a feature which Shark refers to as never stuck technology. How you'll see this working is that if the robot encounters taller than average flooring thresholds or transitions or other obstacles, it can actually lift itself up to cross or avoid them. The same technology can also lift the bot up and skate over carpets to avoid dampening them. Once your robot has completed a clean, it will always return to its base station for recharging. It'll empty its onboard dustbin first, then automatically wash and dry the mopping pad with the fresh water and cleaning solution in the tank.
Shark says the PowerDetect NeverTouch PRO Robot Vacuum and Mop should only need maintenance or your attention about every 30 days or so. But of course, this is going to depend greatly on how your home is, how dirty it is, I should say, and how often you're running the robot. My testing period ran only about 2 weeks or so, so I'm not yet able to say if it is actually this effective or not.
Now that you're familiar with all the special features of this robot vacuum and mop, let's test its cleaning power.
I run all my robot vacuum devices through the same set of cleaning tests.
I'll spill dry goods like rice, flour, and oats on both carpet and hard floors, and to test the mopping, I'll spill some wet messes and let others dry to test the scrubbing power. Starting with its performance on hard floors, I was fairly impressed with the job it was able to do. It was able to be extremely thorough, seeming to almost see spills and zero in on them, then spend a minute or two going over and over the same area until it was incredibly clean. I'd say it probably got about 100% of the dirt I left for it. I will also note that this vacuum appears to run at a much quieter volume than some other competing models. With the mopping, preparing for mopping does take some time. The robot fills its onboard water tank and it takes just over a minute. It does happen relatively silently, so it shouldn't be a bother. The mop has a unique way of scrubbing the floor with a small back and forth motion. I had it tackle a particularly difficult cleaning test, which is dried on coffee. I was actually quite impressed that even on regular mopping mode, it was able to tackle about 95% of this spill, leaving only the thickest and most dried on portions of the edges.
This is a cleaning test that even extremely expensive and advanced floor bots can struggle with, but I'd say the Shark NeverTouch matched them in cleaning prowess on this one.
Unfortunately, that back and forth mopping motion also results in a repetitive tap beat. The mopping pad makes an incessant clicking and clacking sound as it's going around the house, which I found really annoying and distracting. And when in mopping mode, if the robot detects carpet, rather than avoid it altogether, it pops its back up about an inch to create clearance and then continues over the carpet.
This is a bit of a strange way of doing things, particularly for a product that has the word detect in the name. Many bots simply recognize and then avoid carpet when they're in mopping mode, but this one is determined to show off its lifting abilities, I guess.
And just circling back to the topic of the noise, there's also a pop squeak noise every time the robot lifts and again as it lowers itself, which in my opinion makes this bot one of the noisiest floor cleaning bots I've ever tried, not even taking into account the vacuum motor running. There's also quite a bit of water used on the floor. This actually didn't bother me so much since it seemed to help it do a more thorough job, but I know some folks out there with more dainty floors who wouldn't want it to stay damp for as long as this one did. I also tried out the spot cleaning feature, but I only got it to work once. It allows you to clean about a 6-foot area. The one single time I got it to work, I will say it seemed to do an incredible job with this, essentially spinning itself in never-ending circles across the floor to really power away anything that might be there. It's extremely effective, though it does take a little longer, which is probably expected.
I realized something else while doing my testing. If you have anything like large boxes on your floor while your robot is doing the mapping, or you move furniture or anything else around, you're going to need to fully remap your house. I had the box for the shark sitting in a corner of my kitchen when I did the initial mapping, and then later when I created a test spill in that area, the robot just would not go into that spot to do any cleaning, despite the fact the box was gone and the area was now free and clear. It wasn't until I had the robot remap the entire house that it was able to fill in the holes. For that reason, I can't emphasize enough to make sure your floors are clear of any objects, even temporary ones, or there's a high chance the shark robot may never be able to clean in some areas.
Now back to that spot cleaning. I tried this again so I could really have it tackle a tough spill, but the robot just wandered all over the room and then the house multiple times. It's supposed to be cleaning this spot right here, and it's just been wandering around all over that side of the kitchen and not really getting the job done over here. When it's done cleaning, the SharkBot will return to base and wash its mopping pad. And another annoyance with this, the cleaning mechanism makes a buzzing and repeated wah, wah, wah whining sound while it's doing the cleaning. Then it follows that up with sloshing and plumbing noises as it drains the excess water into the dirty water tank. Since the cleaning cycle lasts for several minutes, it definitely gets annoying after a while.
I also didn't see an option for canceling the self-cleaning or being able to shorten it at all, so I had no choice but to wait it out.
On to battery life and runtime. I couldn't find a declared runtime from Shark, but at my house a typical cleaning cycle lasted for about an hour and only used about 20 to 25% of the battery. The PowerDetect can take up to 4 hours to fully recharge from an empty battery.
Overall, the more time I spend with this robot, the more conflicted I am about it. It does a great job at cleaning, but it is both noisy enough and it has enough small quirks that it might scare you off. Let's go over the pros and the cons so you can see if these might be deal breakers for you.
On the pro side, it both vacuums and mops quite well, and it was able to ace all but the most challenging cleaning tests, and even then it got about 95% of the dirt. I also like the fact the dustbin doesn't require a bag, so I never need to worry about replacements, and it holds a lot of dirt, so I also don't need to tend to it constantly. While the robot has interesting lifting capabilities that do allow it to clear very tall thresholds and obstacles, I am a bit puzzled about why it needs to lift on carpets when it's mopping at all. The smarts and the carpet recognition in this bot should really mean that it just avoids carpet in the first place when it has the mopping plate attached. And in another puzzle, the device couldn't seem to recognize obstacles like cords and cables, and the bot tied itself up pretty good, though it was able to untangle itself after a couple minutes.
That brings me to the downsides. Two of my biggest complaints were about the noise level, both the click-clack of the mop while it was cleaning and the lifting mechanism. Plus, I guess there was also the ultra-loud and sloshy cleaning cycle. All of those were a major annoyance. I'm not thrilled about the fact that the bot doesn't seem to vacuum and mop at the same time like a lot of pretty much almost all other floor bots in this price range do. While I think the mechanism and the leave-behind plate are quite clever, sometimes there are just times you need to get everything done at once. And on a more minor note, the mapping process during setup I think could be a lot more efficient, covering not just the mapping of your home, but the carpet detection too in one drive around the house instead of having to go out twice. I also struggled with getting it to do a proper spot clean, and I do find the design of this device to be pretty utilitarian. I have to say for me, this is not one of my favorite robot floor cleaners. There are just too many things that put me off about it that would mean I personally would take a pass on it. The other deciding factor for me is the very high selling price. Selling for about $12.99 Canadian or $1,000 US, this should be a top-of-the-line robot floor cleaner package with zero flaws, and I feel like it has enough knocks against it that the price just can't be justified. I'm kind of disappointed about that because I really like Shark as a brand. Check out why I fell in love with the PowerDetect PRO Auto Empty Stick Vac, or see why Shark is giving Dyson a run for its money in the hair care field right now.